Mayor Giuliani, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
The power up, you really had the crowd going tonight, talking about leadership and how important it is. And I want to go back before 9/11, and we want to talk about a little bit about that particular day. But I want to ask you about when you discovered you had prostate cancer at the age of 55. You stood on that stage and said, I was the luckiest man on earth. Why?
Well, wasn't my first reaction was a day or two of really feeling sorry for myself and really feeling like I'm in all this danger now. Oh, how could this happen to me? All of a sudden, with the help of my wife and some other people, I came to the conclusion that I was the luckiest man on earth because I had been given an opportunity to do something to prevent my death. Some people don't get that opportunity, right? They look at all the people on September 11 who died. They got no opportunity. So I was given an opportunity now to try to seek out a treatment that could either delay or cure it. But look, we're all going to die. So I got a chance. And I think people who have to deal with cancer have to look at it that way, particularly now that we have so many new treatments for it and possibilities. Instead of giving in to the depression that it can cause and the down feeling, sort of try to look at the fact that now you've been given a warning. Not everybody gets a warning, and now you've got to turn it into something positive.
The public service announcement part of the program, you're going to tell all those guys out there like me and go, I'm not going to go, do that. Do it.
Absolutely. Go find out. This whole thing of I don't want to know
Yeah.
is a terrible mistake. Then you're really in danger. I also realized the day before I found out that I had prostate cancer, I was in more danger than the day after I found out. The day before, this was going on in my body. Had I done nothing about it, it would have killed me. The day I found out, I should have said, wow, it took me 2 days to figure that out, but I'm pretty lucky that I found out about this, and I have a chance to do something about it. So I would say to people, go for the tests, whether we're talking about prostate cancer or breast cancer or any form of cancer, go for the test. Don't be afraid. If you do have it, say to yourself, thank God I caught it.
A lot of business people in this crowd tonight writing down some tips and words of wisdom, so to speak. But you talk about relentless preparation, and I thought that was very interesting, talking about how it related to that Tuesday morning in New York City.
Well, because we had prepared for so many different kinds of emergencies, because when we had emergencies, we had an Office of Emergency Management that critiqued our performance. Because of that, I think our people were prepared for something they didn't even realize they were prepared for. It wasn't they had prepared for exactly that kind of a thing, but they had prepared for so many different kinds of emergencies: terrorist attacks, building collapses, airplane crashes, hurricanes, blackouts, subway derailments, hostage situations. The police department, the fire are dealing with that all the time. We prepared them. We had books like this one that were our plans. Because of all that, I think, even though they would deal with something unanticipated, they were able to vary their response. And it's a great lesson for life. Now, you're interviewing me now. From the questions you asked, you prepared before, because you're a very good reporter. You prepared. You didn't just walk in and all of a sudden you prepared. I tell that to people. If you're going to go for an interview for a job, practice the interview with somebody. If you're going to get up and give a talk at work, practice it with your friends first. Just don't get up right away. Do what President Obama and Governor Romney did last night when they had the debate. They prepared for 100 hours.
We had an incident in New York today. Talk a little bit about that.
I was informed of that earlier today and just spoke to a few people about it. And it's something that I know, and I've lived with it every day since September 11. Maybe because I'm in the security business, I know it really well. But I mean, the same forces that came here and killed us on September 11, that same force, that same movement exists in the world today. It hasn't been defeated. It hasn't ended. President Obama may say there is no war on terror, but nobody told the terrorists that. They're at war with us. I think his failure to recognize it creates a bit of provocative danger, but the reality is it's irrelevant because they are at war with us. Commissioner Kelly said in the press release today that New York City Police Department and the FBI in New York have prevented, since September 11, 15 attacks. 15. There have been over 50 that have been prevented in this country. And they're beginning to increase. We see what happened in Libya, see what's happening in Afghanistan. These people are still at war with us. So I keep reminding people as we have anniversaries of September 11, we can't consign it to history yet. Pearl Harbor we can consign to history. That war's over. Our enemies from that war are our friends. September 11th is not over. Our enemies are still our enemies. They're still intent on coming here and killing us. They have different ways of doing it. They have slightly different organizations now. And if we become complacent, the way it appeared to me we became complacent in Libya before the attack in Libya, we're going to have, unfortunately, more situations like Libya.
Why do they hate us so?
They hate us because of their distorted, exaggerated, sick interpretation of their religion, which they interpret in a way that is hateful, horrible, exclusive. They hate us because we have freedom. They hate us because we have freedom for women in particular. Their women don't have any freedom. They hate us because we elect our leaders. They're not somehow, from their point of view, imposed from above. I think they hate us because we're successful. They hate us because of the respect that we have for human life. They don't have that same respect. Look at all the people they slaughter. Look at the ridiculous excuses they give to people for being suicide bombers. You go to heaven, you're going to have 72 virgins. And I mean, this is crazy stuff, right? So this happens. I mean, why do the Nazis hate us? But here's what you've got to do. You can't wish this away. You can't, by pretending it doesn't exist or not saying the words, make believe it's gone away. The way I think what happened to President Obama is he was living in a false world. I mean, there were 2 attacks on that consulate in the 4 months, 5 months before our ambassador and the 3 others were killed. 2 attacks. At one time, they blew a hole in the wall of the consulate. If we're sitting here today, we don't even know if the president was informed of that. If he wasn't informed, why wasn't he? If he was informed, why didn't he do anything about it? I mean, I think that kind of taking it for granted that we've defeated them just because we killed bin Laden may be posing a real danger for us.
So it goes back to that relentless preparation. Are we better prepared as a country?
In some ways we are, and in some ways we aren't. Our intelligence services are much better. Witness what happened today. I don't know if that kind of plot could have been picked up 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the resources deployed in that way. We didn't have soldiers in that part of the world then. We didn't have the kind of cooperation between the FBI and the CIA and the police departments. All of that is to the good. To the bad is this movement is diversifying and proliferating. Maybe we made some mistakes in the way we dealt with the Arab Spring that unleashed some of this. And it seems to me the Obama administration is way behind the curve in catching up with that.
Where were you when you heard bin Laden was killed?
I was sitting at home watching Geraldo Rivera.
You weren't
on
watching
Fox.
the Mets playing the Phillies?
Nope.
Because most of America found out on
No.
ESPN. Well, I know you're a Yankees guy.
I'm a Yankee fan.
I know you're a Yankees
I was
guy.
sitting in my kitchen having a late Sunday dinner, and I was watching Geraldo Rivera, and a blurb came up saying the president was going to hold a press conference at 10:30. And the minute I saw that, I called my wife and I said, honey, presidents don't hold press conferences on Sunday evening at 10:30. Something is really wrong. And then for a few minutes, Geraldo was speculating about what it might be. And he finally hit on the right thing before it was announced. He hit on the fact that maybe they had captured bin Laden. But of course he didn't know, did we capture him? Did we kill him? Did we attempt to capture him and capture somebody else? We didn't know that until we saw it. I felt a great sense of relief. But unlike the president, I didn't think that the war on terror was over with the assassination or the killing of bin Laden. It seemed to me that things might actually get worse as a result of it.
All the names, faces, the families that day, and their stories told in this book. Is there a day that doesn't go by?
You just happen to open to Father Michael Judge. Father Judge, I loved. Father Judge was as close as I've ever had to a real spiritual advisor. He helped me understand how to explain death to people. I was with him at the bedside of at least 25 firefighters who were dying. And he was the person, when I realized how many casualties we were going to have, at one point I was told there might be 12,000. My first inclination was, I better get Father Judge here because he can help me. He can help me with my words, and he's so much better at it, at explaining death and the meaning of it. And then the first person I was notified died. First victim was Father Michael Judge. He was killed outside, and I was at the command post with Governor Pataki, and my fire commissioner came up, and they said, Father Judge is being carried to St. Paul's Church. And I said, my God, is he dead? And I had just seen him 30 minutes before and asked him to pray for us. I'd seen him going toward the scene. I grabbed his hand and shook it and said, Father, pray for us. And he said, I always do.
He helped me turn that page, I think.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's watching us.
Man should be a saint.
Let's talk about, because I'd love to sit here and talk to you all night about this particular day, but you also talked about teamwork, how important it is. Again, in relation to that day when you, mayor of New York City, the team that surrounded you, that day, the days after, the weeks after. Everybody remembers that Tuesday, but the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that.
For I'd say two months, we were expecting further attacks. When anthrax happened a month later, we were convinced that was a terrorist attack.
Strange.
When an airplane went down in Rockaway, exactly 2 months after September 11, we were sure that was another terrorist attack. In fact, I think President Bush closed down our airports for about 3 hours until it was determined that it wasn't. So we were living with the threat of an imminent terrorist attack, as well as trying to deal with the recovery and the search and rescue and the bringing back of the city to some kind of normalcy. Because a city like New York, if people stop coming and people start spending money,
Sure.
all of a sudden you can be facing incredibly dire economic conditions that'll hurt a lot of poor people. So, there was a tremendous amount going on, and every time I am given praise for it or honors for it, I always say I rested on the shoulders of giants, that whatever I did would have meant nothing without all these very, very brave, incredibly talented people who helped me.
Yeah. You went on days to national programs, and I think you were on Saturday Night Live. Was it a week? I'm getting it. Was it a week? Was it a week? Was it
2 weeks?
Was it that Saturday?
It's 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks.
Right.
And Lorne Michaels, the producer,
Right.
I'm sure a very good friend of yours,
He
said,
is.
we've got to go on with the show, as did David Letterman and other people who put on shows in
He
New York
actually,
City.
he actually came up with a great line. We had all the firefighters and police officers behind me. I had my fire commissioner and police commissioner, and we all said something and sang something, and then he came up and he said to me, Mayor, is it okay for us to be funny? And he gave me this line. I didn't think of it. He said, Mayor, is it okay for us to be funny? And I said, well, it would be strange if you started now.
Yeah, you got a really good applause. You beat me to the punch. I was getting to that. Is it tougher to throw out the first pitch at a baseball game or perform on SNL?
Oh, for me, at performing SNL. I was a baseball player.
So
I was a
it's no
catcher, so I can throw. I've even taught people how to throw the first ball. I taught the Prime Minister of Japan how to do it. I taught him a trick on how to do it from being a catcher. I learned this from Yogi Berra, because Yogi Berra got tired of having to catch all these balls in the dirt. He would teach everyone throwing out the first ball, elevate it. Don't try to throw a straight fastball. Elevate the ball, because it'll come down right into the glove.
By the time this airs tonight, the Yankees might be back in it. Well, maybe they're still alive, might have a pulse tonight. We always talk about sports, the character in sports, and how important that is to have that fight, that grit. You saw it in all those Yankee teams
Right.
as a kid.
Right.
You saw it even in that I hate to bring this one up, but that Boston Red Sox team.
Sure, when we had them down 3-0 and they came back and beat us 4-0, that was one of the most exceptional things. It never happened before or since.
And how that
Hopefully it'll happen again.
It might, but how that can be related to the business world.
And the Red Sox would, I believe that third game against the Red Sox, which I was at, A-Rod, by the way, had a home run in that game. I think we beat them almost like 12-4. They were devastated. And the third game was a devastating loss for the Red Sox. And then they came back in the 2 extra inning games and beat us. And then by the time they beat us in 2 extra inning games, the tide had changed completely.
Play that game to the last out in life.
They played it down to the last out with at least 3 or 4 opportunities for the other team to win, but they kept hanging in there. They kept pushing. I believe that sports is one of the great testing grounds for principles of leadership, principles of life, how to live your life, how to succeed. That's one of the reasons I love it so much, particularly team sports. A lot of our firefighters and police officers are so good because most of them have participated in team sports. Most of our military people, that's why they make it such a big thing at the academies. Team sports teach you how to cooperate, how to work together, how to not give up, how to lose when you have to lose and learn from it. Because every successful person has as much a failure as success, and it's a question of, can you learn from your failures?
And you said something funny tonight. You started off talking about the Yankees. When the Yankees lose, you're not the nicest guy to be around, right?
No,
even around the house.
Yeah, my wife says, put him in a room, just leave him there for a day.
So as long as the Yankees are still in it.
So right now we're still alive. We got
okay.
CC Sabathia on the mound. We'll be okay. If we did this interview tomorrow, I'd be grumpy, and if something goes wrong. If something goes right, I'll be high as a kite.
Who's the greatest Yankee of all time?
Well, I guess, who I saw play or all time?
Who you think? Now,
Well,
I know you're
Babe
gonna
Ruth.
put Babe Ruth.
Okay, Babe Ruth.
Okay, let's just say who you saw.
Well,
That would be-
I'll tell you my hero, Yogi Berra. And you know why Yogi is my hero? For something the Yankees could use right now. He was a great clutch hitter. Now, who approaches him? Maybe even matches him? Derek Jeter. If we lose, one of the reasons we'll lose is we don't have Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter seems to hit better when the pressure is higher. Yogi always hit better when the pressure was higher. He's a better hitter in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings than he was in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd innings. There's something some people have, this may be almost a natural quality. Some people, when they get pressured, tense up. Other people, when they get pressured, calm down. And I think you'd have to study athletes to see, the Joe Montanas, right?
Mm-hmm.
How could Joe
Guys
Montana?
have ice through their veins.
How could Joe Montana do that? I'm a giant fan of Eli Manning.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Super Bowl. I knew we were going to win. You let him have the ball for one more minute. Give him 1 minute at the end of the game, and you got a chance to win. There's a 9 out of 10. He can't do it every time. But there's a 9 out of 10 chance he's going to do it. Another quarterback, maybe 5 out of 10.
Right. And you could obviously apply that to the business world, and that's why you were here tonight. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Like I said, I wish we had more time. I know you have to go, but I'll let you go. I can talk baseball with you all night too, if you want.
We're going to go see what happens.
You always play that last out, right? Yogi,
Yeah.
going back to what you said, it ain't
Yeah.
over.
It ain't over till it's over. Right.
Mayor Giuliani, thanks
Take care.
so much.
Take care.